now open pursuant to adjournment. The Honorable Judge Brendan J. Sheehan.
Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, good morning. We're here today on the state of Ohio versus Kristel Candelario. That's you, Ms. Candelario. This is case number 23-682-241. Representing you, Ms. Candelario, is Mr. Derek Smith and Mr. P.J. Mulligan. And representing the state of Ohio is Ms. Anna Ferelia and Ms. Jordan Mason. Before we start, we've had numerous pre-trials on this matter, and we have an interpreter here that's been involved in all the proceedings. And Robert is here. Robert, do you want to stand up? Robert, you've been involved with the court. Your training and credentials as an interpreter has been reviewed by this court. And you are familiar with the National Association for Judiciary Interpreters and Translators, the Code of Ethics and Professional Responsibility, and you've interpreted here many times in this court. Robert, I want you understand that you are to be a neutral party who is here to facilitate communication, and that you should not offer advice or interject your opinion into these proceedings. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So with that, is there any objection to Robert being the interpreter for this hearing?
Not on behalf of the state, Your Honor.
No, Your
All right. So Robert, you want to raise your right hand? You do solemnly swear that you will interpret accurately, completely, and impartially, using the best skill and judgment in accordance with the standards prescribed by law, and follow the official guidelines established by this court for legal interpreting or translating, and discharge all of the solemn duties and obligations of legal interpretation and translations as you shall answer unto God. Please say I do.
I do.
Thank you, Robert. All right. All right. So we're here today for a sentencing hearing. Ms. Candelario, on February the 22nd, you pled guilty to count 1, which is titled aggravated murder and unclassified felony, which is potential sentence of life with parole eligibility after 20 years, life with parole eligibility after 25 years, life with parole eligibility after 30 years, or life without parole. You also pled guilty to count 5, endangering children, which is a felony of the 2nd degree, which is punishable by 2 to 8 years and or a $15,000 fine. And there's also the Reagan-Tokes advisements I advised you of, which is whatever sentence this court imposes on count 5 must be served 50% of that number. So we went through that at the plea, so you understand that. At that time of the plea, we requested a pre-sentence investigation report. We received a report from Michael Rahm, R-A-H-M, on February the 28th. I shared it with both the state and the defense. Ms. Ferelia, Mr. Smith, have you had a chance to review this report?
I have, Your Honor.
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
Any additions or corrections to this report by either party?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
I also have received sentencing memorandums and mitigation reports from the defense by Mr. Smith and Mr. Milligan, and I also received a state sentencing memorandum by Ms. Ferelia. With that being said, is there any additions or corrections that this court needs to review?
With regards to the briefs, no, Your
The
Honor.
briefs, yes.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Candelario, are you ready to proceed to sentencing?
Yes, Your Honor.
That being said, this is the procedure we're going to follow. I'm going to turn to the state first. Ms. Ferreira, you'll put on your sentencing hearing and allow you to present evidence and victim impact statements. And then when I hear from the state and all the state's representatives, I'll turn to the defense. I'll hear from you, Mr. Smith, and anyone who wishes to speak on behalf of Ms. Candelario. And then I'll hear from you, Ms. Candelario, and then I'll impose my sentence, okay? That's how we're going to operate. So with that being said, Ms. Ferreira, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Your Honor. Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor. We're here on a very tragic case. The state of Ohio has prepared a PowerPoint presentation because the state wants you, when you impose your sentence, that you look at Kristel Candelario's actions. And anybody that knows me or has been in this courthouse would know that I talk about actions in all my cases, because as adults, we are responsible for our actions and there are consequences to our actions. So let us begin on this faithful day that Jailyn Candelario lost her life. If in fact we would have gone to trial, the evidence was going to show that Kristel Candelario left the state of Ohio on 6/4/2023. She leaves because there is a receipt that's found in her car that she is in Taylor, Michigan. Unbeknownst to Ms. Candelario, her neighbors had Ring doorbell, and the Cleveland Police Department Homicide Unit has gone through 648 hours and videos of the Ring doorbell, which you're going to see in this presentation. With regards to Ms. Candelario, she returns to Cuyahoga County on 6/6 at 7:41 a.m. So at this particular point, we have reason to believe that this child was left alone for 2 days now, and she returns on 6/6/2023. Additional cameras show her again at 11:51 on 6/6 and on 5/24 of 6/6. She is taking a suitcase and now leaving Cuyahoga County. We have a map and a flock camera which shows her on, I believe it's Lafayette and Charter, northbound, at 6/6 at 20:05, which is 8:05 p.m., and that's a flock camera. Through the search warrants, we were able to retrieve her Spirit airline tickets that showed her departure and her return from Puerto Rico. She was gone from 6/8 to 6/11. And it's interesting, Your Honor, because in the defense memorandum, it says that her abrupt stopping of medications played a significant role in her ability to function as a parent and make sound decisions. So when we look at, these are items from her phone, her actions indicate to us that she is in Puerto Rico having a good time with friends, and that there is not a care in the world about the 16-month-old that was left alone in the pack and play. These pictures show somebody who is showing sound discretion and judgment because she's having a good time. Meanwhile, this child is in a pack and play. She returns to Detroit And while she is in Puerto Rico, the detectives were able to locate on the Ring doorbell that on 6/9/2023 at around 1:04 a.m. in the morning that you hear this child crying. So now we have Ms. Candelario's car. She's returned from from Puerto Rico back to Michigan, where she was with one fellow and then traveled to go see another fellow traveled to Imlay, Michigan to be with another fellow. So that's from 6/12 to 6/15. Her car is found on all these flock cameras. Not once is she returning to Cuyahoga County. Now we turn our attention to June 16th at 7:36 a.m. She is back in Cuyahoga County. Her car reappears in front of her house. She goes in and she finds her daughter dead. She takes the time to redress her, and then she calls 911.
Friday, June 16, 2023, 07:47 and 26 seconds. Please release dispatcher Coca-Cola, Union Police, Fire, EMS. Union Police, Fire, EMS. What's the address? What is the address? 129 West 87. 129 West 87. Hello? Please, I need help. Okay, I can't help you if I don't know where you're at, so tell me the address so we can help you. 129 West 87. Okay, is there a single double an apartment? Please. What's your name? Kristel. What's your last name, Kristel? Kristel Candelario, please tell me. And what's your number in case you get the What's your last number? unattended. 507-882. Tell me what's going on. What's going on? Okay, now, let me give you a calm down. I need you to tell me what happened. Okay, I'm gonna give you a few moments to calm down. Kristel. Kristel. Please listen to me so I can help you.
She's not responsive. She's blind. She's blind.
Who's white?
She went to her husband with district 30. I couldn't speak English.
I'm understanding you. Tell me who's white. Who's white?
Please.
Your mom? Is that your mom?
I'm a mom, yes. I'm a mom.
Do you live here?
My daughter is dying. My daughter is dying.
Oh, your mother is dying?
She's dying. She's dying. I don't want to go to school. Stop it, please. I need help.
How old is she?
She's almost 16 months. Please can you help me?
Okay, I'm gonna get you over to your mother.
Oh my goodness.
That's where we're supposed to be, okay?
And then she's so overwrought with emotion on June 17th that she picks up and goes back to Michigan to meet up not with the guy that she had gone to Puerto Rico with, but the other guy that she was seeing. And in her house during a search warrant, there was found this notebook that had written harm from neglect. This is the location where Jailyn was housed for 10 days without anybody being present, any adult, in a 3x2 pack and play with maybe a bottle or two of milk and maybe some crackers. And the mattress that was found was urine laden and feces strewn throughout the pack and play. Now, this is where it begins, Your Honor. I come from an Italian Catholic family, and both my parents were immigrants and they spoke broken English. And we have this good interpreter that has been with us during this whole case. This is the very first interview, the crying of the 911, and this is the first interview that she has with a detective from homicide. Again, pay attention to her actions and how she speaks to this detective.
But in the last week, she get a vomiting too. Remember right now when you mentioned the vomiting. She get a vomiting the last week, Monday and Tuesday, two times. But I was trying controlling because I know I give to her Tylenol or something, you know, for controlling the vomiting.
Okay. Come on, sir.
And
This is my supervisor, Sergeant Gomez.
Pediality too, I give to her when she got a diarrhea or vomiting. Hola, ¿qué tal?
Soy la sargento Gómez con el departamento de Cuyahoga, de Lorain Avenue and West.
Just to take note, Your Honor, she's sitting in
So
the
yeah,
chair,
that's
and the baby
the
is
situation,
covered with a white
and
sheet
after that,
of her feet.
she was refusing to do the food, and she was with no appetite. I say, oh my God.
This
And
is after last Monday and Tuesday when she was throwing up?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Are you talking about Monday and Tuesday like 4 days ago?
Yeah, the
Okay.
last week, yes,
Okay.
yes. Because we almost done this week, so I talk about, this
Because what this week?
week. This week, yeah, I talk about because we almost done, you know, the.
Oh, we're almost done with this week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that was just Monday and Tuesday of this week. She was throwing up.
Yes.
And then how was she Wednesday and Thursday?
She was with no food, just with the meal, because she was refusing. Maybe it's because she get a vomiting 2 days, before.
Yeah.
So that's why
What?
I was scary, because I say, oh my God, let me go to the hospital because she doesn't eat anything, and she was lose tiny, her weight.
Yeah.
I lose, her weight. But right now, in this morning when I wake up, she was asleep. She sleep every day 12 hours.
Okay.
She sleep like at 8 p.m. through 9 or 10 a.m.
Okay.
12 hours. So, in this morning I was sleeping too. I never wake up. She was,
What happened? What was going on last night?
last night she was crying a lot. And I see one moment when I was take a shower, and she was screaming like, I don't know, probably she get a pain.
Okay.
Maybe.
About what time was that last night?
Maybe at 7 or 8 p.m.
Okay.
So she was screaming like, probably for pain or something like that. In this morning when I wake up, I took her in the morning for, Jailyn, wake up, and she wake up, and when I see her, I see she looks like a really, really dry, like a, ¿cómo se dice cuando una persona se chupa? O sea,
Kind of like,
yeah.
Oh, like her face was sunken in?
So, ya. Y ahí fue que
Okay.
yo me asusté y dije, yeah.
And then she is then brought into homicide. She's arrested and brought into homicide and has another conversation with Sergeant Gomez and Detective Powell, and she continues now to perpetuate her lies.
What time did you go to Detroit, Michigan on Monday? Monday morning? Okay. On Monday morning, what condition was Jailyn in?
She was okay.
She was okay? Was she awake, asleep?
No, she was sleeping.
She was asleep when you left? Sorry. You went there on Monday at what time?
Maybe 7 or 8 a.m.
In the morning?
Yeah.
Okay. 7.
Like every evening, I don't remember exactly.
Early in the morning?
Yeah.
But when you left out, Jailyn was sleeping in her playpen? Okay. So, you go to Michigan. What time did you arrive in Michigan?
You say through here?
Okay.
No, con 30 minutos, 2 hours and 30 minutes.
2 hours, 30 minutes? Okay. So you get there, when you arrive there, who do you meet up with?
Yo llegué a un hotel, pero yo trabajaba de Uber, así que yo no puse a trabajar directamente en Uber.
She stayed at a hotel and she right away started working at Uber.
Pero ya después fui a visitar a otras amistades alrededor.
She went to visit some friends.
Y
Who did you go visit?
amistades.
Who? Give me a name.
David, that's the name.
David?
Yeah.
Okay. So you arrived in 2 hours later, you get a hotel. Where did you stay?
No me recuerdo bien la ciudad que estaba ni el hotel.
Okay, come on. Todavía went to Detroit, Michigan. You don't know what city, you don't know what hotel. You gotta come out with something better than that.
No,
Okay.
pero el hotel donde él se estaba hospedando,
No.
Super A.
Where you were staying, not David, where you were staying. We're not talking about David.
Super A, that's it.
Super 8?
Yeah.
Alright, so you arrived in 2 hours later, you stayed at Super 8, you mentioned something about Uber?
Yo estaba trabajando en Uber, sí.
She was working Uber. Why would you go, hold on. Why would you go work Uber in Detroit, Michigan,
Porque yo
instead of doing it here in Cleveland,
Sí, porque
where your daughter is?
yo también trabajaba aquí en Uber, aquí en Cleveland.
Okay, well, why go over there, not do it here? Why not do it here? Your daughter's here.
Porque me iba a ver amistades también en Michigan,
She
entonces
was working some
aproveché.
friends over there in Michigan, so she took advantage of the fact that she was over there to visit people, but she worked over there.
Pero no era siempre que yo lo hacía.
But not always. That's not, she didn't do that, Maurice.
And don't take this the wrong way. At what point did you think that it would make sense to leave her here while you go to Detroit?
Él dice que no coja esto de la manera mal, pero ¿en qué momento tú pensaste que está bien
Por pasear, por
to travel?
por pasear,
Why not travel with you?
¿Por qué no llevaste a Jailyn contigo?
porque yo pensaba regresar el viernes y ya quedarme con ella. O sea, era algo rápido, eventual, que no...
She said it because she had planned on returning on Friday and spending time with them, so
Porque no me iba a quedar en la casa de nadie.
she wasn't going to stay in anybody's house.
But why not bring her with you if you know, you already knew that she had a condition going on at the time?
Si tú sabías que ella tenía una condición y estaba enfermita,
She needed
¿por qué no llevarla contigo?
Porque por eso mismo, por yo pasear, por...
Because she wanted to have a good time and travel.
And this is the second interview that she had.
Cash in your wallet to purchase the second thing. But you took out money from the ATM machine, that's what you used.
Siempre la uso
All
para
right,
eso.
so let's just start, we're gonna wrap up some stuff here real quick. Okay, so, you were at your house in June 16th, okay, the day we were there. You woke up at 7:20 in the morning, right?
Él me estaba diciendo acerca de que tiene todo mi seguimiento.
¿Tengo qué?
Él me dijo hace un momento, bueno, en inglés,
¿Qué tiene que?
que todavía tengo mi seguimiento de donde yo me movilicé y todo eso.
Yeah, we have you on video, your car coming home at 7:36 in the morning. What time are we gonna see you leaving your house and when? What's the video gonna show us? When we look at this video some more,
Okay,
okay? Cuando nosotros empezamos a ver el video, okay? ¿Qué ese video nos va a enseñar a nosotros? ¿A qué hora tú saliste de tu casa y cuándo? Nos está enseñando tú regresando a las 7:36 de la mañana. Pero a qué hora tú te fuiste. ¿Y qué día? Piénsalo bien, porque el video nos va a enseñar, el video no miente. Okay? I'm telling you, think about it really good because the video does not lie.
No lie.
What is the video going to show us? Is the video going to show us that you left your house on Friday? Because it's showing you coming back, but when is it showing you leaving? Because we're going to look at the video and it's going to show us and it's not going to lie. Think about your answer. Think about your answer.
So I was planning to Chris, I said, this is the time
Y esto es la oportunidad tuya para decirnos la verdad, porque nosotros vamos a ver el video.
sí,
Y si no nos está diciendo la verdad, no lo vamos a ver. Y vamos a ver que tú no estás mintiendo.
sí, y él ya me está diciendo que va a haber más problemas al respecto.
Va a empezar los problemas.
So, Your Honor, with regards to Jailyn Candelario, she died a very awful death for being 16 months old. Dr. Elizabeth Mooney from the medical examiner's office is here and would like to make a statement. She was the medical examiner that did the autopsy, and the state of Ohio is going to provide you the autopsy and autopsy photographs to make this part of the sentencing record. Dr. Mooney?
For the record, we'll call this
State's Exhibit
State's
1.
Exhibit 1.
Good morning.
Hi, Doctor. For the record, can you say your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Yes, my name is Dr. Elizabeth Mooney, and it's spelled Mooney. I am currently employed by Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Office as a forensic pathologist and deputy medical examiner. In this capacity, I was assigned the task of performing an autopsy on little girl Jailyn Candelario in order to determine her cause and manner of death. Unfortunately, this is one of the most tragic and unfortunate cases I've had in my career thus far. So today I speak on behalf of her and her findings with the course of my examination. We received Jailyn at the medical examiner's office from the scene of her residence, at which time she was clothed in non-soiled clothing, indicating her body had likely been dressed prior to first responders' arrival, as they had mentioned before. So at autopsy, I examined the body of a very emaciated female toddler. At this point, she weighed 13 pounds. Upon review of medical records, this indicated approximately a 7-pound weight loss since her previous doctor's visit less than 2 months prior to that. The eyes were sunken, and she had temporal wasting in her face. In addition to that, the skin showed markedly decreased turgor, meaning when I pinch the skin, it remains in that tented position, indicating severe dehydration. In addition, there was abundant fecal material present caked on the fingers, the fingernails, the hands, the feet, as well as the soles of the feet. The same material was found on her lips, which were very dry and flaking, as well as in her oral cavity, caked to her teeth. She did have some diaper rash apparent, as well as fecal material adherent to those areas. Of note, the body was essentially free of significant injury, with the exception of dried excoriations or scratches to the face region predominantly, and whether or not these were inflicted to herself in a conscious or semi-conscious state while she was dying, I'm unable to determine that. Very early decompositional changes were present. This included faint discoloration or green discoloration of the abdomen. These are typically changes that we see within 2 to 3 days following death. No additional changes to suggest that she passed away prior to this were found externally or internally. Upon internal examination, I continued to find evidence consistent with starvation and dehydration. These included pale discoloration of the musculature, which was minimal. There was a decrease in intra-abdominal fat to the point of transparency as her body tried to feed upon itself for nutrients. Her stomach contents consisted of less than 2 milliliters of brown mucoid material. This is about equivalent to the distal part of my thumb, a very small amount. The rest of her bowel just contained patchy fecal material, but very minimal throughout. Her organs, including her liver, kidneys, and thymic gland, showed evidence of stress, specifically microscopically on exam. I found no additional evidence of significant natural disease going on or congenital abnormalities. Following my exam, I submitted body fluids for additional toxicology and chemistry testing, which further confirmed my gross findings that she had passed in a state of severe dehydration. Her kidneys had failed, and she was in a state of ketoacidosis, which leads to coma and eventually death. As such, I determined the cause of death to be just that, starvation and severe dehydration due to pediatric neglect. To come to the exact wording of the cause of death was based on my findings, but also the medical definitions, which I'd like to reiterate here. Dehydration, and specifically starvation, is a lengthy and continuous deprivation of food as to cause suffering or death. Pediatric neglect is the failure of a caregiver to meet adequately a child's basic needs, including physical safety, protection, food, clothing, shelter, education, medical or dental care, and supervision. In other words, neglect for Jailyn's basic needs from a caregiver resulted in her death. As such, I ruled this manner to be homicide. Most homicide deaths involve acts of violence inflicted from one person onto another, but this case involves a failure to act appropriately to support another who is dependent on them, falling into a homicidal manner. In the absence of more advanced decompositional changes, I believe that the pain and suffering she endured lasted not only hours, not days, but possibly even a week. This is a pain that comes from an extreme thirst and hunger. It also stems from an inherent terror of isolation or the lack of someone present to provide that. My knowledge on the depth of this suffering may not be as extensive as a medical or a mental health professional, but as a physician with psychiatric and pediatric training, I feel comfortable stating that the deprivation of food coupled with physical isolation and caregiver abandonment would be terrifying. We know that babies and children cry when they're hungry because it's unsettling and it's uncomfortable. That's almost immediately after birth. We also know that children as early as age 4 to 5 months experience separation anxiety, with the most extreme anxiety around 9 to 18 months. Jailyn was 16 months old. This feeling of abandonment for days on end, coupled with the pain of starvation and extreme thirst, is a type of suffering I don't think any of us could ever fully fathom. So, as a forensic pathologist, it is said that we are the voice of the dead and given the responsibility to speak for those who can't. So this morning, I'm honored to maintain that mission. Thank you.
In addition, Your Honor, just so the record is very clear, the state of Ohio has tried repeatedly to contact Jailyn's extended family, and absolutely no one has called the prosecutor's office, has returned a call from the prosecutor's office, has done nothing to acknowledge that Jailyn was even part of their family. So if people come in this morning, it's going to be on the side of Kristel Candelario, because on the part of Jailyn, in addition to Dr. Mooney, who speaks for the dead through autopsy findings, Sergeant Teresa Gomez and Detective T.J. Powell are going to speak to you. As you also look behind me, it is law enforcement, whether it be from Cleveland Homicide, from the FBI, from the district, from EMS. These are all the people that participated in this case, and that they are here to be the family for Jailyn Candelario, because her own family did not have the courage to call the prosecutor's office and ask what was going on with their case. They were more concerned with their own daughter. TJ is going to, Sergeant is going to speak first. Do you want her to come to the podium?
Absolutely. Same thing, Sergeant, just say your name and spell it for our court reporter so she can have an accurate spelling.
Teresa Gomez, Teresa Gomez. Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, thank you for allowing me to be the voice for Jailyn Candelario, a beautiful angel whose life was cut short for no good reason. This tragedy should have never happened. I am Sergeant Gomez from the Homicide Unit. The entire Homicide Unit, Cleveland Homicide Initiative, and our partners from the FBI are here today in honor of baby Jailyn Candelario. When we were first notified of this horrific case, we were all heartbroken. But when we started digging deeper into the investigation, it was beyond horrific. It was revealed that the defendant, Kristel Candelario, left her own child alone for hours, which led to days, which led to weeks. This 16-month-old baby was left alone in a pack and play to fend for herself for 11 days with no food, maybe milk, the clothing she had on, and the diaper she was wearing. This baby loved her mother, she needed her mother, and her mother betrayed her. Mothers usually want their children to have a long, happy life, but Candelario placed more importance on a vacation in Puerto Rico with her boyfriend than the health, safety, and well-being of her own daughter. She chose to satisfy her own needs and desires over that of her own child. Jailyn's life ended because of her selfishness and disregard for Jailyn's precious life. Candelario violated Jailyn yet again when she placed her little body in a clean outfit in order to orchestrate this facade that she was trying to portray for the investigators, either before or after she called 911. But Jailyn told us something different when we saw her eyes sunk in and wide open We later learned that sunken eyes is a result of severe dehydration. To the naked eye, it appears she had dirt in her mouth and fingernails. It wasn't until the next day that detectives learned that the dirt in fact was feces. Detectives also began to gain clarity as to what really happened to Jailyn. Candelario's fabricated story, which she initially told detectives, began to unravel. There's no way things could have happened left Jailyn by herself for more than 10 days. Many hours of video surveillance revealed all of the comings and goings of Candelario from June 5th through June 16th of 2023, when she discovered her daughter deceased. Investigators watched a total of 628 surveillance videos, which also included audio. On June 9th, audio surveillance captured the final time Jailyn is ever heard crying. Myself and the people sitting behind me, many who are mothers and fathers, are tormented by the thought of what Jailyn endured and what her last hours on earth were like. Any of us and thousands of others would have jumped at the opportunity to take care of this beautiful little girl. Jailyn died a long and agonizing death, afraid and alone, while her mother enjoyed the beach and sunshine. This is a case that myself, all the people behind me, and everyone around the world will have branded in our minds and in our hearts forever. Jailyn took her last breath, and our only hope is that Jailyn found herself in the arms of Jesus, feeling his warm embrace and love, something she did not receive from her mother. Jailyn, you will never be forgotten. Thank you, Your Honor.
And Detective Powell.
Same thing, detective, if you don't mind, just please say and spell your first and last name.
Yes, Detective T.J. Powell, P-O-W-E-L-L, assigned to the Cleveland Police Homicide Unit. I was the lead detective investigator on this case, and I can honestly say, Your Honor, in my 17-year career as a Cleveland police officer, this by far is the most horrific case I've ever had to investigate, Now, I've been a detective for 10 years. First and foremost, I want to thank the entire homicide unit, the entire Cleveland Police Department, Prosecutor's Office. As you see, we're here, we're Jailyn's voice. Unfortunately, there's no family on our side, but we're her family. I wrote a short poem, just something in commemoration of Jailyn's life. J is for the justice that'll be received today. A is for the angel wings she earned on that joyful day. I is for the incremental repetition, build-up of suspense for an innocent bystander's death that clearly makes no sense. L is for the lack of love while alone for 11 days. Y is for a young life that was taken away. N is for new eternal life Jailyn gained on that day. No child should ever have to die this way. Jailyn's life truly mattered. Unfortunately, she died trying to survive off of her own urine and fecal matter.
Lastly, Your Honor, you're going to hear that Ms. Candelario was depressed. And no one more than I appreciate mental health and mental health issues and the programs that this court and my office have tried to implement to help folks with mental health. This is not the case here. This is not the case at all. Her actions speak louder than words. She had the wherewithal to leave Cuyahoga County and drive to Detroit, to be not with one man, but with two, let alone leaving a child, her own flesh and blood, in a pack and play. And during the time that she has been locked up, she has been making plans for the future, talking to other folks at other jails, other prisons. She had a conversation, which I find more disturbing than not, but on November 26, 2023, instead of wrought with emotion, wrought with guilt, crying about the death of her child, she's talking with a friend about her trip to Puerto Rico and what a blast it was and how much the car cost, and they got a truck versus a car even though it was more expensive, and they were concerned about the other woman that was on the trip because she liked to spend money, and they spent money on food. There was never mention about her daughter in her phone calls, and in fact, on January 6th of 2024, she's talking to her mother, who she repeatedly talks to, and they talk about God. God is forgiving, God is this. You also have to take responsibility for your actions, and God isn't in the courtroom. That's why we have judges, and that's why we have the law, because we have to follow the law. But this is what she says, because, you know, she wants to make us believe that she doesn't understand the English language. She goes on to say, there are people who have gone free here, killing people. I mean, imagine. I mean, intentionally, and mine was practically an accident. I mean, because it was not like I did it intentionally. It's not like I picked up a gun or a bat or the girl bled or something like that. That's it. It was practically the same thing that happened to me a few days prior. I had the same thing happen to me days prior. And I mean that day that it happened, that same situation happened. Were you starved when you were in Puerto Rico, Miss Candelario? Did you not have a glass of water to drink when your mouth was parched? It is really pretty pathetic, Your Honor, because, you know, we always stand before you and say that the purposes and principles of sentencing are to punish the offender and to protect the public. And, you know, in the sentencing memorandum, the defense says, well, she's not going to do it again. Well, no, she's not going to do it again because she's going to prison. But it's the fact that she did it in the beginning that sticks with us. You don't do that. She was a mother. She got a title that means something in this world. Animals take care of their infants better. The thought of this child dying every day while she's having fun, humanity can't stomach that. And those are the actions that need to be punished. She abandoned her daughter and left her for dead. So yeah, she didn't see blood. She didn't see the aftermath of a baseball bat. But what she did see were her eyes open, looking at her saying, why did you do this to me? Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Ferreira. Okay, we're going to turn now to the defense. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, everything that I'm about to get into here today, and my client agrees with me, is no justification for her actions. And what the prosecution said actions matter, and these actions are narcissistic, selfish, abhorrent, absolutely worst parenting imaginable. She pled to aggravated murder. She pled to child endangering. So everything we're about to tell you is mitigation. Just to kind of give you an understanding of who this person is. So she came over from Ecuador 2016 with her grandmother. She was here for a few years. Her parents came over and they lived together. She had her first daughter, Amaya, while she was married. She subsequently got divorced, was a single mom raising Amaya. Met the father of Jailyn in Ecuador. They had a relationship that unfortunately turned violent. While she was pregnant with Jailyn, he became physical with her. She came back to Cleveland and never see him again, gave birth to Jailyn. He was never involved in Jailyn's life. She had 2 daughters on her with the help of her parents. She was struggling emotionally, physically, trying to work, support these children. Fast forward to 2023, it's just overwhelming. She even tried to harm herself, took 20 Motrin, ended up in Metro. In early February of 23, after spending just a few days in her room alone, her mother went to check on her, asked her what was going on. Her whole side of her body was numb, didn't know what was going on. They took her to Hillcrest Hospital. She was admitted there, and they were doing some evaluations for her migraines. She was complaining about headaches and weakness, facial drooping, thought it was possible stroke. They put her on IV Depakote, which is an anti-seizure, also used to treat manic disorder. And at the end of the day, after evaluations, she was clean, nothing wrong with her brain. They gave her some oral Depakote and Effexor, 2 antidepressants, and sent her home. She was not very clear on what those were, but she was taking them supposedly as directed. And then she returned to Hillcrest Hospital again in March, and there was a note from the doctor saying that she should have had plenty of Effexor, but she's saying that she's out and she needs more, and she's coming back with these same problems. So they had her evaluated again, and they were saying that her anxiety and her stress was the trigger for these physical manifestations to what was happening to her, for the loss of sensation in the side of her body, the numbness. And they prescribed her more Depakote, more Effexor, and also Atarax to help her sleep, because she wasn't sleeping. And this is in March of 2023. And, take the medications as prescribed. And then medications ran out. She wasn't feeling any better. They weren't working. She stopped. Not supposed to do that with these drugs, Your Honor. These are very serious mental health drugs, and you need to be tapered off of these medications, or there could be some side effects. Not only the side effects, but the actual underlying conditions that she may have had or been suffering from are also going unmedicated at this time. And then we get into her trip, and I'm not going through that again. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. And I commend the prosecution, the detectives for their work. It was unimaginable, terrible, and I feel for all you guys having to deal with that too, and her family as well. It's when the prosecution showed pictures of her on her trip. Pictures can be deceiving. Personally, for having myself suffer from depression and anxiety, you can't tell what a person is going through from a picture, what they're dealing with on the inside. And I'm thankful for the support that I had from my family, my friends, my doctors. She didn't have any of that. She was hiding it from herself, from her parents. Nobody knew what she was suffering from. Her doctors even thought it was migraines and possible strokes. And to be honest with you, when I first met her, Your Honor, after this happened in June, I met a person that was devoid of emotion. Just after hearing what had happened on the news, and then I get the call, she wants to meet with me, and I go talk to her, it was not what I expected. is this: she had no emotion. She couldn't explain anything. I had no idea who I was talking to. But I'll tell you right now, this is not the same person. This person now is compliant on her medications. She's been taking them through the prison throughout the whole time that she's been in here. You know, I'll echo again, there's no justification for her action when she was out there, what she was doing. She could have called somebody, she could have done this, yes, but when you're in that state, when you're off medication, mismanaging your thoughts, you're not thinking clearly, her body she had to get out, and if she was having fun, if she was okay, in her mind, Jailyn was okay. No, of course that's not the case, but I will point to when she did finally get home, and we heard that 911 call, she didn't want this to happen. You could hear that. Screaming, help me, my daughter's dying. Yes, because of your actions, because of what your choices were. And you took responsibility for that, but that call, that one tiny breach from whatever was going on in her head, that reality that her daughter was dying, she was calling for help, she didn't want that. And again, Your Honor, she took responsibility. She pled to aggravated murder. She pled to child endangering. Nothing's going to bring Jailyn back. She knows that. So then, yeah, after the fact, in her state, she was telling detectives whatever. She thought she had another daughter. She had a Maya she had to think about. She had her parents. And then the prosecution saying that nobody's here on behalf of Jailyn. That's wrong. Her parents are here. They love that girl. They love Jailyn. Her mother loved Jailyn. She didn't deserve what happened to her. Nobody does. But they're here to talk on behalf of Jailyn as well. They loved her. So this time around, I'd like to call her parents up to sit.
Sure. It's the same thing, just please identify themselves and spell their first and last name. Do we need an interpreter?
Yes, sir.
Robert, are you okay?
Good morning.
I'm going to ask, would you like to go first then? Identify yourself.
Yo solo voy a hablar.
She's just going to
Yo
talk.
solo voy a
He's just here.
Oh, okay, got it.
Y va a
Sorry.
hablar de este
No,
tema,
Luis.
¿cierto?
Yo.
Muy bien.
Can
Okay.
you please say your name?
¿Favor de indicar su nombre?
Katie Torres. ¿Mi nombre?
Katie Torres.
Okay, and can you spell it for the record, Robert?
Puede deletrear de K con K, ¿cierto?
K.
K-A-T-I-Y, ¿cierto?
K-E-T-T-Y.
K-E-T-T. K-E-T-T-Y. ¿Y Torres con S o?
Con S.
Torres, T-O-R-R-E-S.
Okay, and present with her is her husband and his name?
¿Y junto con ella es su nombre, señor?
Tu nombre.
¿Cómo?
Tu nombre.
Clever Candelario.
¿Cómo?
Clever Candelario.
Clever Candelario.
Él no
Clever.
escucha bien. Él no escucha bien. Tiene un problema de audición.
This gentleman has a hearing problem.
Okay, that's fine.
Ok.
Okay, Clever con
¿Qué?
C.
Con K.
Con K.
K-L-E-B-R.
K-L-E-V-E-R. ¿Y el apellido?
Candelario, con C.
Candelario. Same as the.
You're good? All right, good.
Okay, bien, señor. Frase por favor.
Excelentísimos jueces de la Corte,
Honorable Judge of the Court.
con el corazón partido en 1000 pedazos,
With my heart ripped apart in 1,000 pieces,
pero desde el amor y sostenida por Dios,
but speaking from love and maintained by God,
estoy aquí para decirle al mundo
I am here to tell the world
que mi hija salió de un hogar
that my daughter came from a home
donde se creó una relación de humanismo,
where there was relations of humanism,
valores,
values,
creencias
beliefs,
afectos,
emotions,
calidez,
warmth,
donde lo más importante era la familia.
where the most important thing was the family.
Kristel creció y se formó
Kristel grew up and was educated
en un ambiente sano junto a sus padres.
in a healthy environment together with her parents,
Protegida y amada.
protected and loved.
Realizó sus estudios en nuestro país natal, Ecuador.
She studied and was educated in our native country of Ecuador,
Escogiendo la misma profesión de su abuelo y sus padres.
and she chose the same profession as her fathers and her grandfather,
La docencia.
teaching.
Sus años de edad adulta fueron marcados
Her years as an adult were marked by
por problemas de salud física y sentimentales.
both physical and emotional problems
Que no siempre terminaron de la mejor manera.
that didn't always end up in the best way.
Su salud emocional se vio afectada en más de una ocasión.
Her emotional health was affected on more than one occasion.
Pero entre trabajo, responsabilidades y el día a día,
But between her work, her other responsibilities, and her day-to-day life,
en un ir y venir, no logró priorizar la importancia de un tratamiento continuo.
in the middle of all that, she never ended up prioritizing or appreciating the importance of continued treatment.
Por lo que la depresión y la ansiedad y el trastorno de neurosis de conversión fueron ganando terreno en su vida.
And because of all that, her depression, anxiety, her conversion neurosis disorder, all ended up consuming her.
Razón por la que siempre sufría desmayos y pérdida del conocimiento.
And as a result of this, she suffered fainting spells and also loss of consciousness.
Con esto no quiero victimizar ni justificar a nadie,
In saying this, I don't want to victimize or justify anyone.
solo mirar el yo interior de quien hoy está aquí sentada y siendo juzgada.
I only want to give a glimpse of the interior person, the ego of someone who is seated here and who is being judged.
Señores, las enfermedades de salud mental no se reflejan en el rostro.
Ladies and gentlemen, the sickness, a mental health illness is not reflected
Ni
in
en una-
someone's face,
Ni en una foto.
and also not in a picture, in a photo.
Nacen y se quedan en el alma
It arises and remains in the soul.
Solo un tratamiento a tiempo y eficaz con ayuda de terapistas y médicos ayudan a mejorarlo.
And only a timely and effective treatment by therapists and doctors can help to improve those conditions.
Mi hija no tenía calidad de vida
My daughter did not have a good quality of life
porque ella no podía pausar el trabajo.
because she couldn't stop working.
Nunca nadie imaginó que este sufrimiento terminaría en tragedia.
No one ever imagined that this suffering would culminate in a tragedy.
Y hoy aquí quiero decirle a Jailyn
And here I'm.
que eres
here-
nuestro ángel, Jailyn.
I want to say here before Jailyn, our angel,
Tu recuerdo vive en nosotros.
that your memory lives within us.
Siempre te amaremos.
We will always love you.
Te acuné en mis brazos.
I held you in my arms.
Tus abuelos nunca te olvidarán.
Your grandparents will never forget you.
Perdóname, bebé.
forgive me
por vivir la oscuridad del conocimiento
for being in the dark
que me imposibilitó ver la luz y poder ayudar a
and
tu
for being
madre.
in the darkness that prevented me from seeing the light to see what was going on with your mother.
Hija querida, cuánto te amo.
My beloved daughter, I love you so much.
Lamento y me arrepiento
I lament and I am
por no
so
haber
sorry
por no haber detectado lo que estabas viviendo.
for not having detected what you were going through.
No leí tu corazón.
I could not see what was in your heart.
No me percaté del caos
I didn't notice the chaos
por el que estabas atravesando.
that you were going through.
Lamento ahora, hija de mi vida, causarte este dolor.
I lament my darling daughter that I caused you this pain.
Señores de esta sala,
Your Honor,
pido misericordia,
I ask for mercy.
clemencia y compasión
I ask for mercy, for clemency, and for compassion
para un ser humano
for a human being
que ha librado una dura batalla en su vida.
that has waged a very difficult battle in her life.
Y ruego no satanizarla,
And I beg that you not
ni señalarla.
I beg that you not demonize her and point the finger at her.
¿Quién en esta vida no ha pecado contra Dios?
Who in this life has not sinned against God?
Que levanten la mano quienes no lo han hecho.
Anyone who hasn't, let them raise their hand.
Pero como creemos en un Dios de amor y de bondad,
But since we believe in a
y de,
in a God of love and of goodness
en un Dios de perdón,
and a God of forgiveness,
Él está aquí con nosotros.
He is here with us.
Hija, te amo.
My daughter, I
Aquí
love
estaré siempre para ti.
you. We're here always for you.
Te voy a esperar toda la vida.
I'm going to wait the rest of my life for you.
Sí.
Thank you. Bien.
Un momento.
Señores excelentísimos jueces de la Corte,
Honorable judges of the court,
estoy aquí consternado por todo lo sucedido,
I am shocked by everything that happened,
dándole apoyo moral y espiritual a nuestra hija.
and I am giving moral and spiritual support
Señores
to our
jueces,
daughter Kristel.
pido compasión, comprensión, empatía, misericordia para un ser humano que ha tenido una etapa de su vida cargada de mucho estrés y preocupaciones.
Gentlemen judges,
Las enfermedades mentales
Gentlemen judges, I ask for compassion, understanding, empathy, and mercy for someone who is going through a stage of stress and mental and emotional illness and worries.
Las enfermedades mentales y emocionales no avisan.
Mental and emotional illness does not give warning.
Cada persona es un mundo
Each person is a world unto herself,
y el mundo interior de mi hija
and the inner world of my
se
daughter
convulsionó
was shaken
sin darnos cuenta.
without our having realized it.
La depresión, la ansiedad,
Depression,
la envolvieron hasta hacerle perder el juicio y la razón.
depression and anxiety consumed her to the point of depriving her of good judgment and reason.
Aquí está mi hija Kristel, que también tiene un motivo para seguir adelante.
Here's my daughter Kristel, who also has a motive to go forward with your help.
Con la ayuda de ustedes y esa razón,
With your help and with this motive,
se llama Amaya,
her name is Amaya.
que tiene 7 años
She is 7 years old,
y espera ver a su madre
and she hopes to
y
see,
abrazarla
her mother and hug her very soon.
muy pronto.
Very soon.
Ruego a ustedes, imploro, perdón, suplico, comprensión.
I beg for your help, forgiveness, and understanding.
Hija querida, recuerda siempre
My beloved daughter, always remember
que nunca te olvidaremos.
that we will never
A Jailyn,
forget Jailyn,
mi amada nietecita,
my beloved granddaughter,
que tuve en mis brazos,
who I held in
que
my
todos
arms,
los días tenía que yo amanecer cogiéndola a mi nieta,
that every
quien
day
extraño mucho,
we miss you very much,
profundamente.
very deeply.
Su imagen está grabada en mi recuerdo.
I carry her image always within my memory.
Jailyn es nuestra luz.
Jailyn is the light of our life.
Amaya es nuestra esperanza.
Amaya is our hope.
Te amo, hija.
I love you, my daughter,
Hasta el final de mis días.
until the end of my days.
Y aquí estaremos esperando por ti.
And we will be here waiting for you.
Que Dios te dé fuerza, valentía cada día de tu vida.
May God give you strength and courage
Gracias.
every day of your life.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Your Honor, just in quick conclusion, when you're contemplating your decision, she was obviously struggling with something that she was unaware of, doctors weren't aware of, her family was unaware of. It's again, not a justification for what she did. But when she finally returned home and called 911, that fear, and also what wasn't mentioned earlier in the recording, she was told to perform CPR and she tried to bring her daughter back, or tried to do whatever she could. And I asked her too, recently, hey, if that would have been successful, had the paramedics or yourself been able to revive Jailyn and she was still here, do you think you belong here? And she, absolutely, she said. She said, I don't know what I was thinking, I don't know, I can't put myself back into that state of mind I was in. She hates herself for it, she thinks of her daughter, and I actually will let her speak now. Thank you.
Ms. Candelario, you want to stand up and address the court?
Your Honor, good morning. Sorry. Hay mucho dolor que tengo con respecto a la pérdida de mi bebé Jailyn.
There's so much pain that I have in regards to the loss of my baby, Jailyn.
Estoy muy dolida por todo lo que pasó.
I'm extremely hurt about everything that happened.
No estoy tratando de justificar mis actos,
I am not trying to justify my actions,
pero nadie sabe cuánto yo estaba sufriendo
but nobody knew how much I was suffering
y por lo que estaba pasando.
and what I was going through.
Todos los días le pido perdón a Dios y a mi hija, Jailyn.
Every day I ask forgiveness from God and from my daughter, Jailyn.
Soy una persona creyente de Dios
I'm a person who believes in God.
y reconozco hoy que todos y todas, muchas ocasiones, somos tentados por el enemigo.
And I recognize today that all of us are sometimes subject to the enemy.
Dios y mi hija me han perdonado.
God and my daughter have forgiven me.
Quisiera pedir perdón también a mi hija Amaya
I would also like to ask Amaya, my daughter Amaya, for forgiveness.
y a mis padres.
And I'd like to ask my parents for forgiveness.
No se imaginan cuánto yo era unida a mi hija Jailyn y Amaya.
One can't imagine how close I was to my daughters, Jailyn and Amaya,
Y cuánto nos amábamos todas.
and how much we all loved one another.
Extraño mucho a mis hijas.
I miss my daughters very much.
Hoy nada puede devolverme a Maya, a Jailyn, perdón.
Now, I know that nothing can bring Jailyn back.
Y no pasa un día que no deje de pensar en ella.
And not a day goes by when I do not think of her.
Le pido a Dios que algún día pueda volverla a ver
I pray to God that one day I will see her again.
y poder retornar junto con Amaya, que es nuestra única esperanza el día de hoy.
And I pray also that one day I can be reunited with Amaya, who is our only hope right now.
Thank you, Susan. Your honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Smith?
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Candelario, you might as well stand up. This court has to impose a sentence here today. And the first thing a judge has to do is look at the purposes and principles of sentencing. That is, the sentence must comply with these purposes and principles under our revised code 292911A. The overriding purpose is to punish the offender and protect the public from future crime by this offender and others, using the minimum sanctions that the court determines accomplishes this purpose without imposing an unnecessary burden on state or local government resources. I always have to consider the need for incapacitation, deterrence, rehabilitation, and restitution. The sentence should be commensurate with and not demeaning to the seriousness of the offender's conduct, its impact on the victims, and consistent with sentences for similar crimes by similar offenders. Ms. Candelario, I am not sentencing you today based on your race, your ethnicity, your gender, or your religion. Do you understand?
Yes.
I sat here, listened, and I'm looking in the back of this courtroom, and I think of Dr. Mooney's statements to me, Sergeant Detective Teresa Gomez, and Detective Powell, and these three experienced, very talented, hardworking individuals all called this one of the most horrific cases they've ever seen. I look in the back of this courtroom and I see law enforcement, I see individuals who have worked on this case, who are here because it's also affecting them and how horrific this crime is. It stunned people across this world because it defies one of the basic human responsibilities. The bond between a mother and a child is one of the most purest and most sacred bonds between human beings. It's a relationship built on love, trust, and unwavering protection. Yet, in a shocking and betrayal of this fundamental trust, you committed the ultimate act of betrayal, leaving your baby terrified, alone, unprotected, to suffer what I heard was the most gruesome death imaginable, with no food, no water, no protection, and lying in her own feces. Ms. Candelario, you know the responsibility of parenthood. You have a child already. You raised another child. And I've witnessed here before me your parents who've showed you love and respect and education. And they came here to help you, to advocate for you, more than what you've done for your own child. The evidence that I've witnessed here before this court shows that this time you simply chose not to be here because you wanted to have fun. You decided you needed a vacation. And what followed was absolute depravity. You left your baby, Jailyn, trapped in a pack and play without food and water for 10 days. This wasn't simply an oversight. You could have saved Jailyn's life many times. You could have found someone to watch her while you were gone. You could have taken her with you. While you were in Detroit or Puerto Rico, you could have called someone in Cleveland and told them that Jailyn needed help. Dr. Mooney indicated that rigor mortis was found when they found her, which means she didn't die that long before you came home. Think about that. Despite all of her suffering, that little baby persevered, waiting for someone to save her. And you could have done that with a simple phone call. Instead, I see photos of you on a beach while your child was eating her own feces. an attempt to survive. Photos mean something. And I'm well aware of mental health, but didn't look like you were too concerned about your child. As if that wasn't bad enough, you extended your stay in Detroit without regard to Jailyn, alone, in pain, clawing her face in distress from the exhibits I just looked at, trapped in a tiny prison that you left her in. When you got home, you knew enough to start lying. You concocted story after story, trying to hide what you did. You even put pants on her, but you couldn't hide the absolute horror and filth that she spent the last days of her life in. You still didn't get it. I hear this morning that you went out and managed to go out with someone that you were with, and he was too upset to eat, but you weren't. And then I hear that you're in jail and you're telling people, I can't wait to get home. I look at remorse. I hear, except for the acceptance of responsibility, no remorse. As a court, I have to remember Jailyn, where you did not. Just as you didn't let Jailyn out of her confinement until she died, so too, you should spend the rest of your life in a cell without freedom. The only difference will be that prison will at least feed you and give you liquids that you denied her. Based on all these factors, based on all the things I've looked at, and I'm marking this as State's Exhibit 1 for the court order. On count 1, aggravated murder, I'm going to sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On count 5, I'm going to sentence you to 8 years to run concurrent to count 1. I'm going to tell you, Kristel, this is probably one of the most difficult, horrific cases to listen to hear, and to see. And I can tell you that I appreciate the fact that the state of Ohio presented this matter in a professional way, and the defense has acted in a professional way. You have a right to appeal my sentence. Do you have the money or means to hire a lawyer at this time?
No.
All right. I'll appoint a lawyer to represent her on appeal. And on the endangering children, because of the Reagan-Tokes thing, it would be 8 to 12 years. That would be concurrent with the aggravated murder, which is life without parole. Is there anything else, Mr. Smith, on behalf of the defense?
Nothing further.
Anything on behalf of the defense?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you. The court's adjourned.
Right. Tracy.
Yeah, don't worry.
This is just